Hello and welcome back to another new edition of Windows and Current Affairs, and today is a very special episode because we're going to talk about a totally brand new idea or a booming idea that could enforce and empower tourism in Egypt. The One Piece Museum Tourism. It's a little project that starting to spark here in Egypt, and actually it is going to attract a percentage of tourists that are not supposed, not the frequent kind of tourists that come over and stay for a while inside Cairo and stay in hotels. It's a totally different type of tourism that is going to be coming directly to see that particular museum and coming to see that particular artifact or monument. Of course, we're going to be delving into the detail in this episode, and of course, nobody better to talk to us about this brilliant idea because it is his idea, but Dr. Bassem Al-Shamma, of course, the historian and Egyptologist. Good evening, Dr. Al-Shamma. Of course, it's an idea that sparked to you, and you thought of implementing it or taking it all over Egypt. First of all, let's have or get a definition of the idea. What's a one-piece museum?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on Nile TV International. Always when we have new ideas or even new theories in Egyptology, we come and talk about it here. So today I'm introducing this idea of the one-piece museum to our authorities, to the tourists authorities, ministers, even anybody who's working on the service of this country. One-piece museum is a very simple idea. It's not going to cost a lot. It's not going to even cost people to work on it a lot, but it will benefit many people around it. So let's define what's a one-piece museum. First of all, in all my travels and all my guidings and lecturing in the US or Great Britain or South Africa, I did not experience any museum of that sort, of that type that we are going to talk about. So if my information is correct, then this is going to be for the first time in the world that a country will do a project which will be widespread all over the cities and the governorates and the villages and the small cities and towns. A building which will take one piece of antiquities.
Only one piece?
Only one piece.
But how long would it take the tour if it's only one piece? Then, I mean, tell me about the technique, even if there is a guide who is going to be accompanying the delegate of tourists. How is it going to look like? I mean, it's a little bit strange.
Let me clarify more. Let us take a good example of what I'm trying to explain here. The Buhaira Governorate, a very important governorate in our country, in our beautiful Egypt. But many people wouldn't think of Buhaira as a touristic attraction spot, unless you are talking about Rosetta or Rashid, with its amazing open museum. The whole Rashid is an open air museum, with, of course, the history and the memory of the Rosetta Stela, which is, its original is in the British Museum in London, unfortunately. But how can I convince a tourist bus, a group of 30, 35 tourists, to get in a bus with a tour guide and a bus driver and drive from Cairo or from Alexandria towards Buhaira, where in Buhaira itself they're going to head to a place called Qom al-Hisn. Now, we all know Buhaira, we all know Rosetta, we all know Rashid, we all know this beautiful place, Damanhur, the beautiful Damanhur, the very important Damanhur. But very little number of us know where is Tell al-Hisn or Qom al-Hisn. So, why Qom al-Hisn in particular for the one-piece museum? Because in Qom al-Hisn, a one piece was excavated many years ago, and it is a one-off. It is a one piece which can change history. It's one piece which will make it a must for you to go through a 3 hours drive into a small beautiful village so that you can see this museum of one piece with the surroundings of the dilapidated temples and tombs and the other artifacts and the other antiquities around. So one, you're not going to only see the museum. You're also going to see the dilapidated temples, or even if there was a well-preserved temple or a tomb. That's important. But even if there was none, you will be very attracted to visit this one-piece museum, even if it was only the 1 hour or the 30 minutes that you're going to spend in this museum to see one piece. Why? Because of the historical importance and the archaeological importance of this piece. Let's take Qom al-Hisn as an example. In Qom al-Hisn, a stela was excavated many years ago. The stela is over 2 meters high. It's almost complete. And it is carved in some scripts. Our historians are telling us that this script, which is carved on Qom al-Hisn stela, is very similar to the scripts which is carved on the Rosetta stela. So now I have got something almost similar to the Rosetta stela which is in the British Museum. It's in, now today as we are talking, it's in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, here in the Tahrir Square. So I'm going to take it out from that room, which nobody knows, very little number of people know that Qom al-Hisn stela is in the Egyptian Museum. And even if you enter the Egyptian Museum, there will be no arrow showing you to go where, to see this one-off
Unless if I'm
piece.
accompanied by a tour guide.
Yes, you are right. And this tour guide should know where the place. And to those who would like to visit, is going to the right. When you enter the building of the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir Square, go right, left, second room, left, the far corner on the right. We'll say it again. Enter the building, go right, left, second room on the left. Enter the far right-hand side corner. You're going to see the stela made out of stone and carved on it a script which is similar to the Rosetta stela. So you're going to tell me, so what? Why should I go for 3 hours drive to Qom al-Hisn so that I can see a block of stone, I can see it in the British Museum? For example, I will tell you because it is better than the Rosetta stela in the British Museum.
In what way?
In the archaeological and the historical importance. And to prove it even more, my dear, I will tell you two. I'm not going to enter into the historical background because, I mean, like I lectured 2 hours about it, so you can make a lecture about it for 2 hours. But I will just summarize it for you. Number one, the Rosetta stela, very important. I'm asking it to be back. Until the British will allow us to have it back, we can bring out the Qom al-Hisn stela and introduce it, or let's say reintroduce it to the world through that project of the One Piece Museum. I promote it touristically in a correct manner.
Promotion.
I tell the people about it. Can you imagine this stela on the t-shirt of Muhammad Salah during the World Cup? Can you imagine if you tell the people, come, Muhammad Salah will sign his shirt in Qom al-Hisn. Come and visit Qom al-Hisn. Come and visit the One Piece Museum. Come and visit Muhammad Salah. Like this, I'm saying. So, number one, Qom al-Hisn stela is older than the Rosetta stela, or the Rosetta stela. Rosetta stela is Ptolemy the 5th. Qom al-Hisn is Ptolemy the 3rd. 2. The Rosetta stela is destroyed in some parts of it, as you already can see today. The Qom al-Hisn is almost complete.
Amazing.
To the point that the British Museum took the picture of Qom al-Hisn stela and superimposed it via computer on the picture of the Rosetta stela so that they can continue the Rosetta stela and they can see it when it was complete. How did it look like? So today, you can open the book of the Rosetta Stone, they call the Rosetta Stone of the British Museum. You see a picture of the Rosetta Stone complete. You've never seen it complete. I've never seen it complete. Nobody saw it complete in our 19th, 20th, 21st century. Why? Because when it was excavated, destroyed. And the missing pieces from the Rosetta Stone is not found until today. But if I tell the people, come and see the complete one, come and see the more ancient one and the more important one. Come and see how the Rosetta stela would look like if it would be complete today. And for all of this, you will take a bus for 2.5 hours drive to this place, beautiful place called Qom al-Hisn. What's the story of Qom al-Hisn? Why do they call it Qom al-Hisn? What is the meaning of Qom?
And this is something, this is affiliated with the tour itself. But then we are going in that sense, we're going to be creating an alternative industry that is going to accompany that type of tourism, which is marvelous, which is amazing. We are going to be able to automatically promote for more stories that are related, that haven't been known to that type of, that much of percentage to people in the world. If you are going to take that type of tourism, which is the One Piece Museum, we're going to be taking or applying or implementing different types of promotion for many stories in our history. These are, different benefits out of this type of tourism.
This is exactly the first sentence you mentioned, something like alternative tourism. And that's exactly the point. You know, some years ago, I was working as a tour guide with a British company, very famous British company, the most famous British company. I'm not going to mention the name. But they were doing this. They were doing something called Alternative Egypt. So you come and see Kumambo, Isna, Edfu, Luxor, Aswan, beautiful, gorgeous. Next time. I've seen the Karnak temples. But did you see Medinat Habo last time you were here? No. Let's put Medinat Habo in the alternative Egypt. Egypt Part 2, if you like to call it. So indeed, that could be involved in alternative Egypt, alternative new Egypt, something that you didn't see before.
So we go to see that piece, and we go also to see Qom al-Hisn at the same time.
So and Qom al-Hisn has got monuments, by the way.
Right. So in that sense, the tourists are not going also to head over towards the Grand Museum only in Egypt. They're going to be acquainted with more other places that they haven't heard of before, which are almost the same, as much as popular or as much as precious as the Grand Museum, only we haven't worked on.
I will even go more than this. I'm not exaggerating. I can point for you to now, as we speak, 10 pieces of artifacts that can easily be more important than the golden mosque of Tutankhamun. And I'm saying here, more important historically, because I'm going to know that this is going to be controversial. Shamma is saying the golden mosque is the best worked piece in the history of mankind. Until today, no culture produced that amazing gold work on the mosque. I'm not talking about the beauty. I'm not talking about the craftsmanship. I'm not talking about the people who invented this idea. No. This is another lecture. I'm talking about the historical importance. And for me, the historical importance between the stela of Qom al-Hisn, for example, and a dilapidated pyramid, let us say, both are amazingly important, but I would go, Qom al-Hisn is more important historically. Because Qom al-Hisn told me information about my history and about this time of Egypt, which I didn't know about before. So, for example, so this is Qom al-Hisn, al-Bihira. I tell you, I used to give lectures in Damanhur. There is a hotel there. Okay, it needs a little bit of work. But from the window, you will see one of the best romantic, green, land, pastures of agriculture, beautiful waterway, if you like to call it. You want to call it canal, you can call it. You want to call it corniche, you can call it. And then the sky on the background with the beautiful turquoise kind of color. Oh my God, this is a beautiful view. And I'm going, we are in Damanhur. How come? I came down, talked to the people. I'm saying, how come? How come a view like this, if it was anywhere in the world? I queued in London in the cold weather. I paid ticket to go and enter a museum to see the stick of Charlie Chaplin.
It's a similar idea.
It's a huge museum. It includes things about movies. But the more important or the most important piece is going to be the stick. I'm not saying anything. I'm saying the stick of the man was a genius and a comedian, and he was also a critic. All the Charlie Chaplin stuff, yes. The salutation. And I'm talking to you about a culture which people lived in Thebes at least 500,000 years ago. I'm not talking about, we are still saying 7,000 years. What's 7,000 years? We're still repeating this number. This is disgrace. Do not repeat 7,000 years of history. If Kent Weeks, this man, this American Egyptologist, said people lived in Thebes at least since 500,000 years, 500,000 years. And you're talking about, so the One Piece Museum is not only, it's not going to, for example, the pyramids. So as I took an example of the One Piece Museum in a place that you didn't know, I'm going to take you to a place that you know perfectly well and the people know perfectly well, but we are going to put One Piece Museum in it if you like. So you're going to tell me in front of the Great Pyramid of Khufu, what can rival this? What can make the tourist or even anybody who's interested in archaeology stand in front of Khufu, see this amazing building, the one surviving wonder of the world, the 2.3 million blocks of stones, the 6 million tons weighing building, the highest building in the world made by man until 1889 when the Eiffel Tower was built. What can possibly attract anybody in this area? I'm going to tell you the One Piece Museum.
The One Piece Museum. I need you to elaborate more and talk about examples, successful examples of this type of tourism. You talked about one community, one place in Egypt. Tell me about, I know that you are a walking encyclopedia when we talk about archaeology and Egyptologists, but talk to me about successful working examples of that type of tourism that could work in a tangible way, that could promote more for history, promote more for tourism, and attract more tourists.
And if attract
it could
more,
be easy, I mean, as a destination also.
Exactly. And if attract, I will continue. And if it attracts more tourists, that means it attracts more economy.
Of course.
It will attract more economy. It's going to make the people around this One Piece Museum work.
And could also promote for more industry, like clothing industry, like publishing in the souvenirs,
postcards.
whatever you could say.
Yeah. You know, we are talking about
even food industry.
The museum of postcards. Postcards museum. Food. Small shops. Selling galabiyas. If you around this One Piece Museum, there will be a community, as you already mentioned before air, a community of people from the place. Meaning, the Qom al-Hisn people will be very happy that this museum will be built in the middle of Qom al-Hisn. Why? Because there will be no unemployment. Imagine with me. I'm not dreaming. Imagine with me.
And foreign currency also.
Foreign currency. Imagine with me. Our Minister of Antiquities, tomorrow morning, in the news, surprise us all, we retrieved, we regained, we returned the statue of Hem Iyuno, the famous designer, architect of the Great Pyramid of Khufu. You're going to tell me, and why would you like to retrieve it? Why would Germany, how would you start this One Piece Museum for Hem Iyuno statue if Germany, if we can succeed in bringing it from Germany? Because there is only one statue for Hem Iyuno in the whole wide, huge, gigantic world.
Only one statue.
Only one statue. Hem Iyuno. More important than Khufu. Once again, more important than Khufu. Khufu
but
was
it's not popular enough.
Exactly.
We could make it popular enough by the One Piece Museum. So that's another important factor.
That's another important benefit. Thank you. Because nobody knew Qom al-Hisn. Now people are watching us, knew what is Qom al-Hisn. Exactly what is going to happen to the world if we did this One Piece Museum. Hem Iyuno. Come and see the pyramid. Thank you. Explain the pyramid. The tour guides. Perfect explanation. Thank you very much. Very charismatic. Introducing the whole history in a nice and a simple way. You've seen the pyramid? Yes. You've seen the genius of the building? Yes. Would you like to meet the person who designed it all? This man who would like all, including myself at the top of the list, to jump inside his head and think, what were you thinking? This Hem Iyunu, this is a human, an Egyptian man, 4,500 years ago, sat and thought to himself like that, I'm going to put 2.3 million blocks of stones in one building. Hello? And with his workers, paid workers, he achieved. So, the link between Hem Iyunu's museum, the One Piece Museum, and the Great Pyramid of the King, that will be a perfect combination of history, engineering, tourism. You finish the visit, thank you. Go and buy a statuette of Hem Iyunu. Go and buy a T-shirt with Hem Iyunu on it. This is
or
the man
take
who
the
did
costumes that are being taken, that were being worn during the time of Hem Iyunu. I mean, there are many other industries that could be associated with this particular type of tourism. Let's go to the costing.